awesome. Now, come on, get the energy up, because I'm going to bring out the SpectreVision crew right now. Give it up for Lisa Whalen, Elijah Wood, and Daniel Noah.
Hi.
I love you, Elijah!
I love you! Oh, there's a lot of you. This is awesome.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I love you all too, by the way.
We love you.
Let's get into this, man. I don't want to waste any time. Just straight out of the gate, how did you guys all link up? Because this is a company putting out such unique stuff with such a unique flavor to it. It's rare to find three people that have the same taste, let alone are able to get the job done as well as the three of you are able to. So how did this all start?
How did it start, Daniel?
I don't know, how did it start, Elijah? No.
Just volleying back and forth.
It started about 10 years ago on a project so at that time I was working as a screenwriter and Elijah as an actor, and we met on a film that never came to be, but we kind of bonded around a very profound love of genre film, and in particular horror film, and a feeling that there was a great many films coming out that were sort of leaning into the more sort of violent or exploitative aspects of horror, but that there were fewer films coming out that were dealing with maybe slightly more sophisticated issues.
We love a Saw and a Hostel, but you don't want to watch that every day.
Yeah. So that was kind of how the company was born, and I think in the 10 years since, that's really changed. There have been many really wonderful, artful horror and genre films. I mean, Hereditary and Midsommar and The Witch, and I mean the list goes on and on and on. But that's sort of how it all got started.
What are the genre films specifically that made you guys want to get into making genre films? Because making genre films is not just saying, hey, I want to go do a studio comedy. You know what I mean? These are aimed at a very specific type of audience. You have to have a specific eye. So what are the films that, maybe each of you name one, where you said, that's what I want to do?
Well, when we first met, the films that we were talking about that were being made at the time were not being made in the U.S. Things like Let the Right One In, The Orphanage, Martyrs out of France. These are those films that in some ways were also evoking the films of the 1970s, like Rosemary's Baby and, The Exorcist. Movies that took their subject matter seriously and to a certain degree where you could almost remove the genre element and still have a compelling story underneath. And it wasn't just solely relying on the sort of tricks of the trade.
Okay, very good. Lisa?
I was going to say Rosemary's Baby. So now I sound like an idiot. I don't have one.
This is why it's a synchronicity here with the group. So let's talk about, I want to talk about Mandy. How many people saw it out there? It's amazing. For those of you not clapping, get it together. Go watch this film. It's incredible. Is it hard getting some of these movies, for instance, Mandy, made? Is it hard pulling together? Because Mandy is a bat S-H-I-T film. It's crazy. How tough is it to enter into the process of getting a film like that actually produced?
I mean, a lot of these, a lot of independent films or even studio films that by the time you see them, sometimes it takes 5-10 years for those films from the moment that they entered someone's mind to the moment that they enter your mind.
Yeah.
It can take that much time. So it really, I think, Lisa, who runs, is the sort of our front line on putting financing together. I think you can speak more to this.
It's hard. People don't want to spend money on insane, crazy stuff because maybe nobody sees it because it's insane and crazy. So a lot of conversations about, we know it's crazy, but don't you want to see it? And we convinced enough people that they personally wanted to see it. Like, if you think about, 100 people you know, and you take the craziest film in the world, you think maybe only a few of those people are going to want to see it. You have to find those people and go, please, God, give me your money. Sometimes they say yes, but it took a lot of, knocking on doors.
And we're relentless. It was really, a founding principle of the company was that we wanted to get behind things that were difficult.
Right.
You know, we willfully looked out to, you know, people in the creative community, asking them if they had passion projects in the horror space that no one wanted to get behind, and those are the movies that we wanted to make. So we always knew that it was going to be a long road with some of these movies. Mandy was a good example. That was about 5 years,
Yeah.
I think. From sitting down with Panos, of like literally grabbing him and saying, we want to make your next movie no matter what it is. It happened to be Mandy, and it took time, but it's often worth that time and effort when, you know, you're able to make something where the creative team behind it gets to make it the way that they want without any interference, which is a huge
And
part.
I think that's probably the best aspect of this company, or any company that's doing this sort of thing, is that these are clearly project-fueled projects.
Yeah.
This is not about what celebrity's name can we get above the title on the poster. Project comes first, and generally speaking, you guys make really raw movies. Greasy Strangler, you know, these are really raw films. So I'm wondering, between the talent that you do bring in, and even internally, externally, whatever, is there ever any concern with the content coming across? Or do you say, criticism be damned, we're making this movie no matter what? Is there ever a moment where you go, you know what, guys, we make genre films, they're supposed to be crazy, this scene might be a little too much, or this needs to get a little nuttier to fit into the form?
I think I'm the one saying, guys, please, this is too crazy. And Elijah's going, more!
I think it all depends on the film and the filmmaker and what is necessary for that
Right.
individual piece. With something like The Greasy Strangler, inherently it is what it is, right? So I don't know that there's any pulling that back or pushing that forward. It was very much in Hoskins' universe
Right.
and his world, and whatever he needed to make that movie what it was going to be. We're certainly there to give notes on the script and sort of help push things in directions that we think will make the movie better. But in terms of more or less, it's ultimately what the movie demands and what the filmmaker feels the movie demands. And I don't think we're there to like push it either way, as long as it's about what the filmmaker needs and what the film needs, I think.
I've literally never heard a movie producer say that before. That's great. It's great. It's why you make great movies.
It's just who, well, I can't see any other way though, because
Right.
ultimately we want to get behind these people because we want to support the thing that they do and not get in the way of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's this term that in the movie business they say a 4-quadrant film. A 4-quadrant film is a film that is the 4 quadrants are over and under 35, male, female, and the ideal at a studio level is that you're making a film that appeals to all 4 quadrants. And those are the movies that the Marvel films, the movies that I'm sure a lot of you are here to celebrate. What we often talk about is that not every film has to hit all 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to make a film that hits 1 quadrant or half a quadrant. Those are people too. And when you make those kinds of films, I think the difference is the author of a studio film is the studio. The author of an independent film is the director. And I think that's the biggest distinction. And you know, we're living in a time when the studio films are very dominant, and indie films are increasingly less seen,
Right.
at least in theaters. But you know, if you look at a movie like Daniel Is It Real, which a lot of people are comparing to Donnie Darko or Jacob's Ladder, you know, Jacob's Ladder was a studio film when it came out. That's just not on trend right now. But Jacob's Ladder is a lot of people's favorite movie. It's certainly one of my favorite films. Don't we get to see movies too? Aren't there movies for us too?
Right.
So I think that's kind of what this company was born to try and serve that 1 quadrant of people that maybe aren't seeing what they want to see in the multiplex.
Well, while we're on the subject of studios and the different quadrants and everything, let's talk, or what can you tell us? You guys just signed a first look deal with Legendary for a TV series. Is there anything you can tell us about that? Because that's a venture with a major studio at this point.
It is. It is. But it's also a studio that loves genre and loves
And it's
to take,
independent.
And they're
and they are
independent.
independent. And they like to take big risks and big swings. We're honored they approached us. They're fans of our work, so that's kind of fucking rad, and it sets the standard for, or it sets this table for us to be able to do something really interesting, because they know what we've done in the past and what kind of things, you know, our proclivities are, and they happen to be aligned. They want to make really weird, awesome genre TV.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it happens when you go into studios and they say like, we love your stuff. Like, can you do something that everybody would like? And we go like, no, we don't know how to do that. We only know how to do weird, crazy shit. Most of the time, I'm sorry, I cursed. But
Family.
I know, and I have kids.
I can't help it either.
My kids aren't here though.
My daughter's here, so please
Oh,
don't
sorry,
curse.
Lou. It's fine. Anyway, but this studio, like Legendary, was like, no, we want you because you make weird, crazy, whatever. See, I didn't do it twice.
Well, back to weird and crazy. Let's talk about Daniels and Rio, just to give the audience a little background of what's going on with this film. It's already played 18 festivals, which is nuts. You've already won a bunch of awards at Film Quest and some other festivals. You did a panel here yesterday for the movie. It went well, I hope?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And we already saw the trailer. What more can you tell us about this project? Or have you kind of said enough and you don't want to spoil anything?
I don't know what you could glean from the trailer. The sound's not super great in here, but the movie is basically about an imaginary friend. This kid who has this imaginary friend when he's very young, and then that imaginary friend goes away and he gets older and he goes away to college, and in this sort of, you know, time of need where he's sort of struggling as a human, this person comes back into his life. And he's the same age as him, and he may or may not be imaginary.
So it's kind of like, it's like a dark, drop-dead Fred. That was my takeaway.
That is literally what it is. Yeah.
Which is kind of dark in and of itself. You probably couldn't get drop-dead Fred made in a studio.
No.
I want to talk to you about, and we couldn't show the trailer, but they have another, okay, so SpectreVision has another movie coming out starring the mighty Nicolas Cage, based on an H.P. Lovecraft story, directed by Richard Stanley, who was the original director of Island of Dr. Moreau. Watch that documentary if you ever want to see how batshit studio stuff can get. Anyway, the movie's called Color Out of Space. We weren't allowed to show the trailer today. But this movie already, 9 festivals, multiple awards at Fantastic Fest. Here are the 2 reviews that stuck out to me. Vital Thrill said, Richard Stanley has crafted the best adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft due to date. That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
There have been a lot. But my favorite review was Consequence of Sound called this movie a bonkers masterpiece.
Wow.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Is it a bonkers masterpiece?
It is.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
And it sort of ends up being this total psychedelic nightmare at the end of the film as well. That's quite relentless. But it was an honor for us to work with Richard, and it has been a personal dream of Daniel's to do an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft that is worthy of H.P. Lovecraft, in the sense that there have been a lot of adaptations of his work, but very few of them get to the sort of cosmic horror and the cosmic dread that he does in his books. You can speak to this better, but
Yeah.
that was sort of the promise of this project and what was so exciting to us.
Are there H.P. Lovecraft fans here? Yeah, great. Well, look, there have been so many great adaptations of his work, but a lot of them have been comedies, or this is, I think if we may say, this is the one that really feels like a Lovecraft story in the way that you read them. It is probably the most disturbing, nihilistic, brutally. It's a brutal piece of horror, but it's also quite moving and very beautiful. The film Annihilation was inspired by Color Out of Space. This is a direct adaptation of Color Out of Space. And if you're a Nick Cage fan, man, he delivers in spades on this one.
I love it. He rarely doesn't.
He rarely doesn't.
He's a delivery man. Before we have
Sequel to The Weatherman.
We have 5 minutes left. I want to get to audience Q&A, but really quick before we do, I just want to talk about how the company is branching out, which is awesome. You guys are getting into podcasting now.
Yeah.
Your new podcast, Visitations. You did an episode with Guillermo del Toro that's picking up a lot of
Yeah.
press out there and a lot of talk about it.
And that
It's a
drops on
two-part
Monday.
episode.
Drops on
Yeah.
Monday, and it's the podcast is already in the new and noteworthy section on Apple. So you guys are doing something right. I hope you bring more podcasts out. I have one. Listen, we don't need to focus on that. One fan over there. Anyway, I hope you do more podcasts. I hope you keep expanding.
Thank you.
More video games to come. I hope you did
would love
one with
that too, yeah.
Ubisoft. Like, guys, keep doing what you're doing. It
Okay.
needs to be out there, and it's great work. Seriously.
Daniel isn't real. December 6th, Color
Right.
Out of Space, early next year. Please see it.
Let's do a few Q&A with the audience. Where are we at here? Okay, you know what? I'm going to come to you second. You're closer. Hold on, I don't want to die.
Careful.
Hello.
Hi.
I read Color from Outer Space, and
Oh.
it has a weird ethereal horror.
Can you
to
put the
it.
mic a little
Sorry.
closer to your mouth? Yeah, thanks.
It has a weird ethereal horror to it that it's unlike any other horror story I've
Yeah.
read. How difficult was it to capture that feeling in film?
Great question.
Very difficult, and it took a filmmaker like Richard Stanley to figure out how to do it. The big question is, how do you depict a color that is defined as a color that the human mind can't comprehend? And I don't want to spoil how we did that, but I think the very premise of Lovecraft is that we are insignificant. We are microbes on the bottom of another being's shoe. And the way the universe works is so beyond our comprehension that if we were ever to glimpse the way things really operate, our brains wouldn't be able to comprehend them. So all I can say is that the last half hour of this movie is terrifyingly incomprehensible. I mean, you in some ways you have no idea what's happening. Everyone dies. Not spoiler alert. It's in the story. Anyone can read the story. But I think you have to just see and hear the movie to see how it was done. But it is a very disorienting, very strange, upside down experience.
It's a great question. Thanks.
It's a great question.
Thank you.
Can we go over here to this guy was second with the red tie?
Hi guys.
Hey.
So Elijah, a question for you. Just really quick. Is any progress being made on playing the youngish man?
I don't think so. No
Please-
progress. They've
please
not
let it
they've
happen.
not reached out to me. Although, for anybody who doesn't know, my dad wrote a porno. Has anyone listened to that podcast? All right. So there's a lot of talk about like if there was going to be an adaptation of these books. There's a character called the Youngish Man, and I was on the podcast, and I was like, I would play that character. It'd be kind of fun. So, no, I don't know. But I would do it. If they made it, I would do it. They know they've got my commitment.
And then another thing, I'm sorry to be that guy. Last year I was honored to meet Howard Shore, and
Oh, cool.
it was amazing. And he signed my extended editions of Lord of the Rings. You're over there, right? May I come over there afterwards?
Sure.
And
You were in Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings?
yours.
Biggest laugh of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We have time for one more. You had your hand up over here. White t-shirt.
Hi, my name's Moses. I'm
Moses.
a giant, horror buff. I love horror movies.
That's good taste.
I was wondering if it was too much to ask for you to autograph that nameplate right there.
This one here?
Yeah.
Sure.
In blood.
Have a Sharpie?
Can we get it? Yeah, does somebody have
Right
a
up
Sharpie?
here. Oh, almost.
Also, can you autograph that Sharpie before you give it back to the guy?
All right.
You ready?
All right, guys, we gotta go. Give it up for the crew from SpectreVision. SpectreVision, keep supporting companies like this.
Thanks, y'all.
Do it. Thank you, everybody.
Wow.